and welcome to the Narrowing Path, Walking the Spiritual Walk. My name is Steve Van Eiderstein. Thank y'all for joining me again today as we go through and we do the daily reading from James Allen's Daily Meditations. Today we'll be doing June 7th, and just like every day, I'm looking forward to it. This June's been a great month, and each one's just been a remembrance or a new lesson for me in um, the spiritual world, spiritual principles, spiritual disciplines, things like that. And yesterday's was I really enjoyed it because it was just a um, we can't idolize anything that's material. It can't be money, a person, position of power, anything. It's all temporary. It'll all it's all fear based when it's material. We have to completely place our reliance upon that spiritual world, upon that spiritual energy, that source, that God of our understanding, that power greater than ourselves. So it was great. It was just a great reading. And I'm looking forward to today's. So this will be fresh to you and fresh to me, meaning you'll get my genuine responses, reactions, observations, and what I relate to about the reading. So here we go. This will be, sorry, I lost my train of thought for a second. This is June 17th from James Allen's Daily Meditations. The only, this only is true service, to forget oneself and love towards all. Whoever fights ceaselessly against his own selfishness and strives to supplant it with all embracing love is a saint. To the worldling who is beginning to aspire towards higher things, the saint, such as a sweet Saint Francis of Assisi or a conquering Saint Anthony, is a glorious and inspiring spectacle. To the saint, an equally enrapturing sight is that of the sage, sitting serene and holy, the conqueror of sin and sorrow, no more tormented by regret and remorse, and whom even temptation can never reach. And yet the sage is drawn on by a still more glorious vision, that of the Savior actively manifesting his knowledge in selfless works, and rendering his divinity more potent for good by sinking himself in the throbbing, sorrowing heart of mankind. Only the work that is impersonal can live. Wow. Hmm. What an just a immense and amazing ideal that is, isn't it? To live 100% and completely selflessly. It's a it's a glorious thought, actually. I like this one. I'm ready to. I just want to get into it. So this is the first line again here. This only is true service, to forget oneself in love toward all. Meaning to love unconditionally, to love without expectations, to forget yourself and your desires and what you hope to get out of it and any plans for what it produces or what it brings, but to love and take actions to help and support with no thought of self. What an ideal that is. It's one I strive to do as much as possible. Um, it's Let me tell you, when you strive to do this, When you strive to give selflessly, 100% selflessly, without your own benefit in mind, it will show you how often you think about yourself when you do anything. It shows you. It showed me how self-centered I was, even in my kindness. How my kindness was selfish because I wanted something out of it. Like we talk a lot about the blessings of living this way of life. We talk a lot about where it can bring you, and sometimes I'll get caught up in that, and I'll say I need to do this so I get this. Right? I need to act spiritual, live spiritually, so I get the spiritual rewards. And I look for them, and I'm waiting for them, and they don't come because those rewards we talk about, the love, the joy, the happiness, the steadfastness, the gratitude, the peace, the serenity, those only come when you give truly unselfishly, when you act for the right reason, not for the reward you get from it. So even in that capacity, I've found I could do better. So, all right, let's get into the main body of this. Whoever fights ceaselessly against his own selfishness and strives to supplant it with all embracing love is a saint. It's a mm, pretty cool definition of what a saint is. Someone that fights ceaselessly against his own selfishness and strives to supplant it with all embracing love is a saint. To practice love instead of selfishness. Tr- True, authentic, pure love instead of selfishness. Hell of a goal. And that would be something worthy of a saint. To the worldling who is beginning to aspire toward higher things, the saint, such as a sweet Saint Francis of Assisi or a conquering Saint Anthony, is a glorious and inspiring spectacle. Right? So, to someone maybe like me, to look at someone of a caliber such as those mentioned, Saint Francis of Assisi or Saint Anthony, they seem like giants, right? Inspiring things to strive to be like. But what's interesting is he says it's like he like builds in almost tears to this in some way, or maybe he's giving different perspectives of living spiritually, right? Because he goes on to say, to the saint, so to the worldly person, a saint is amazing, an inspiring spectacle. He called him. To the saint, an equally enrapturing sight is that of the sage, sitting serene and holy, the conqueror of sin and sorrow, no more tormented by regret and remorse, and whom even temptation can never reach. So the saints, well, again, maybe it is a tearing almost because the worldly aspires is inspired by the saintly is inspired by the sage, the ones that have achieved this understanding, that dismissal of remorse and regret, that peace, that serenity, right? So because he says a saint is someone who is striving for the someone who fights ceaselessly against his own selfishness and strives to supplant it with all embracing love. The sage is the person that's accomplished that to some capacity because he has those gifts of living a spiritual life, the serenity, peace. Can't even Temptation cannot even reach this person. That seems to be a powerful place. And that's what the saints aspire to. They see a sage, they see someone with that wisdom and that knowledge, that perspective and understanding of life and that faith. And they strive to be that way. And now So the worldling strives to be saintly. The saintly strive to be sagely. And yet, even the sage is drawn on by a still more glorious vision. So the sage is even inspired to further greatness. That of the Savior actively manifesting his knowledge in selfless works. That. Mm. And rendering his divinity more potent for good by sinking himself in the throbbing, sorrowing heart of mankind. That's really where it is, isn't it? That's really where this brings us full circle. Because if we, the sage is someone that's received this and has that peace, the serenity, but he admires the one that's received it and gives it away, received it and goes out and engages with the world, practices works of faith, practices living that unselfish life, that loving life. He doesn't just hold on to it and stay there in his meditation or stay there in his practice. He actively brings it out to help those that are still suffering. He actively brings it out to help those that are still wounded, to help those that he's been inspired to help selflessly for with no expectation of action, with no expectation of result, but just to give from a loving heart and a serene soul. It's a pretty incredible development. So it is tears. It is these levels of achievement, I guess, in some capacity. Because when you get to this place of peace and serenity, when you've done that spiritual work, when you've worked through your demons and continue to stay vigilant about the way you live your life, when you get that, you just have to give it away. Still in the 12-step community, they practice this, do they? Do they not? The 12-step community is at no cost. You owe no one anything. The only thing that's asked of you is when you have been given, or when you have become sober and learned about this program and learned to work this program, that you give it to the next person. You owe no one anything except the new person coming in that's hurting, that needs the help. That's part of the responsibility of 12-step practices, is to pass on what you've been given. What a beautiful reading today about service and growth and learning, and how it's always room to continue to practice this way of living. There's not check boxes to get through, there's not a finish line. There might be some progression, but there's no end point. And thank God for that. Now it closes with this line: only the work that is impersonal can live. Meaning, only the work that's done without myself in mind will, how to phrase it? What's the wording for that? Only the works I do without myself in mind will actually be able to have a substantial impact on somebody's life. Will live on through someone's impression of them. Everything else is left lifeless and listless and forgotten quickly. So, again, June's knocking out of the park. It's a fantastic month, and not just because it was my birthday month. So, thank y'all for joining me today. Fantastic reading. Absolutely loved it. And I'm grateful for everybody that's jumping on. We're coming up on to a thousand plays on my on the episodes total, and that's pretty cool. I'm really grateful for the people that have been jumping on and listening, and um, really been a part of this podcast. And hopefully, maybe we can add some depth to it soon, um, and kind of go from there. But I'm looking forward to seeing where this goes. You can go on over to our Facebook page and give it a like and a follow if you'd like, and we'll continue to go from there. So, thank you everybody for jumping on. Until next time, thanks.